can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Himate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Once again, somebody is trying to reach me. Sorry for the. Sorry, friends. Somebody is trying to reach me, and I'm. This is somebody is trying to reach my mom in my native place. So sorry.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. Let's continue. Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sorry friends, again somebody's. Sorry again. Yeah, we'll continue. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Ramostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our weekly study of Bhagavad-gita. So we are continuing to read the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gita as it is. This 7th chapter is entitled as Jnana Vijnana Yoga or Knowledge of the Absolute. So this chapter contains 5 sections. So we completed, the 3rd section last session. And then also we covered the verse 20 in the 4th section. 4th section is verses 20 to 25. Krishna talks about demigod worship and impersonalism. Verse 20 to 23 talks about demigod worshippers, how they are not using their intelligence fully because whatever boon or benedictions given by the devatas, they are temporary. Without realizing that, they are going after something temporary. So Krishna talks about them because they approach the demigods because they want quick material results that are perishable. And then Krishna verse 20 to 24 to 25 talks about impersonalists. And then how they don't, surrender to Krishna, and because they are not interested in surrendering to Krishna, Krishna does not reveal to them. So now we will cover verse 21. Verse 20, I'll just read the translation. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Now verse 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayarchutam ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tame vedadamyaham. Yaha yaha, whoever, yam yam, whichever, tanum, form of demigod, bhaktaha, devotee, shraddhaya, with faith, architum, to worship, ichchati, desires, tasya tasya, to him, achalam, steady, shraddham, faith, tam, that eva, surely, vidadami, give, aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Purport. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, He does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives such facilities to living entities for enjoying this material world, so lets them fall into the trap. Let them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities. Then there is, the answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, He gives full independence, whatever one likes. But His ultimate instruction we find in Bhagavad-gita. One should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto Him. Sarvadharman paritteja mamekam sharanam braja. That is the final instruction Krishna gives in the 18th chapter, 56th verse. 66th verse. So Krishna is telling, therefore He gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes, but His ultimate instruction we find in Bhagavad-gita. One should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto Him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a deceased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in Shastras for different modes of material different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. So he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entity with such an affinity. But because he is the Supreme Lord, or the super soul who is present in the heart of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that this quote, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Super Soul is present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They are not independent, end quote. So here, Prabhupada talks about, how God respects living entities' freedom. The living entity, Atma, Jivatma, we are all part and parcel of the Supreme. We are all in quality one with God. But in terms of quantity, we are infinitesimal, whereas God is infinite. We are Anu, he is Vibhu. So if you take a ocean, if you take a drop of water from that ocean, that drop of water also has the same quality as the entire ocean. But in terms of quantity, the drop of ocean is not equal to the entire ocean. Similarly, Jivatma, we are also spirit. God is also spirit, but he is supreme spirit. In terms of quality, we have oneness with him. But in terms of quantity, God is infinite, he is super soul, he is Paramatma, whereas we are individual Atma. We are infinitesimal, minute living entity. This minute, because we are in quality one with God, God has supreme free will, Swarat. He is considered to be supremely independent. Srimad Bhagavatam says he is Swarat. Swarat means supremely independent. Whereas the living entity, we are also having the same quality as God. We also have independence. But our independence is not like the Lord. It's not supreme, but we do have some independence. So God respects that independence and he does not interfere. That is the whole reason why we had come into the material world. The living entity, which is originally part and parcel of Supreme in the spiritual world, they were all serving the Supreme in cooperation with him out of love and free will. Because some living entities misused that free will, chose the choice of, not loving him and wanted to enjoy independent of him. God respected that free will and he's created the material world and he sent us here. So that's what Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, right? Because Bhagavan, Krishna is there in everyone's heart as super soul. He understands the desires of the living entity. Based on whatever he desire and whatever he deserve, he fulfills those desires through demigods who are in charge of various material facilities. If a particular living entity has a particular desire to receive some benediction, so they need to approach a particular demigod. The faith to approach a particular demigod, that is also comes from Krishna, because he is situated in our heart as Paramatma. When we have certain inclination, he inspires us to worship a particular demigod. Srimad Bhagavatam gives a list of all the so many devatas, not all of them, so many devatas, so many prominent devatas, right? Who are all in charge of various facilities. That's what Prabhupada paraphrases here. If somebody wants good health, one should worship sun god Vivashvan. If somebody wants, good education, they should worship, goddess Saraswati. If somebody wants, wealth, one should worship goddess Lakshmi. Somebody wants, beautiful wife, then they worship, goddess Uma. If somebody wants a beautiful husband, then they worship Lord Shiva. Like that, the list of all the different demigods to fulfill different desires are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. But ultimately, Srimad Bhagavatam, after telling the list of all the, desires, then it talks about Akama Sarva Kamayava Moksha Kama Udaratihi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajate Purusham Param. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the second canto, third chapter, right, 10th verse, this verse is given. In the third chapter, it gives the list of all the, different desires. Who can, which demigod can fulfill different desires? If you need good health, worship sun god. If you want good wife, worship Uma. Like that it is given. But it says, Akama Sarva Kamava. Whatever desires you have, whether you have desirelessness, or if you have all desires, or if you have desire for independence, or independence from the material nature, that means liberation, all of them are recommended to worship by Bhakti Yoga. Tivirena Bhakti Yogena Yajate Purusham Param. They are recommended to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what Prabhupada quotes here, right? Different demigods. They are not completely independent. They are actually based on the sanction of the Supreme Lord, only fulfill material desires of the living entity. As earlier said, the living entity approaches a demigod because he doesn't realize the boon given by them is temporary. Even though he is looking for permanent happiness, the demigods cannot give permanent happiness, because whatever they can give, they are material benedictions. They don't, last eternally. So that's why Prabhupada further quotes here, if the living entity surrenders to the Supreme Lord completely, right, then they can become happy. Because by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, automatically everything is taken care. Next verse, verse 22. Chataya Shraddhaya Yukta Tasyaradhanimihate Labate Chatata Kaman Mayaiva Vigitan Hitan. Saha he taya, with that Shraddhaya, inspiration, Yuktaga, endowed, Tasya, of the demigod, Aradhanam, for the worship, Ihate, he aspires, Labate, obtains, Cha, and Tataha, from that Kaman, his desires, Maya, by me, Eva, alone, Vigitan, arranged, he certainly tan those. Translation, endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport. The demigod cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigod do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are not due to due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigod usually because he is mad to fulfill this lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and worship of demigod cannot be on the same platform. Because worship of a demigod is material, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So here in the purport again, Prabhupada elaborates, as Krishna explained in this verse, right? He gives the facility. If a living entity wants to worship a particular demigod, he arranges the living entity the faith in the previous verse. In this verse, he is saying whatever he endeavors to worship a demigod, right? He obtains his desires, right, from the demigod. But actually, that arrangement is given by the Supreme Lord only. Ultimately, even the demigods, they are not independent. They derive their powers from the Supreme Lord only. They are all, various, department heads in charge of different departments. Ultimately, they are all answerable to the Supreme Lord. Ultimately, they are deriving the power from the Supreme Lord. They are all, agency representing the Supreme Lord. But a living entity who does not know this, they approach a Devata thinking that particular demigod is all in all. Or they think that all the demigods and the Supreme Lord, they are all in the same platform. That is not true. As Chaitanya Charitamrita says, a living entity who is willing to surrender to the Supreme Lord and who has material desires, it's contradictory. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and worship of demigod is not on the same platform because the living entity, right, material desire is contradictory to its original nature. That is unconditional, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service. Next paragraph. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. Because material desires makes us to continue in this material world. It will not allow us to go back to spiritual world. Hence, the pure devotee, the Lord does not award the material desires, whereas the material desires are awarded to less intelligent living beings because it is given by the demigods. Next verse. Anybody would like to recite?
I can read. Can
yes.
I?
Yes, sure.
Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhaktya yanti mamapi.
Can you see the screen? You can read the word by word. Krishna. Oh, sorry, you got disconnected. No problem. Word by word meaning. Antavat, perishable. Tu, but, phalam, fruit. Tesham, there, tat, that, bhavati, becomes alpamedasham, of those of small intelligence. Devan, to the demigods, Deva Yajaha, the worshippers of the demigods, Yanti.
I lost connection, Swamiji.
No problem, no problem. I am continuing to read the word by word.
Okay.
Deva
Sorry.
Yachaha, the worshippers of the demigods, Yanti, go, Mat, my Bhaktaha, devotees, Yanti, go, Mam, to me, Api, also. You can read the translation.
Okay. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Purport. Some commentators on the Bhagavad-gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord, but here it's clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to the different planetary systems where the various demigods are situated. Just as a worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular god's planet. It's not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the supreme personality of Godhead. That is denied here, for it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the supreme planet of the personality of Godhead. Here, the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. And in their ignorance, they believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are the demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, and Kshatriyas are his arms, and Vaishyas are his waist. The Sudras are his legs, and all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The results achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable because within the material world, the planets, the demigods, and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore, it's clear that in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because the pure devotees engaged in Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge. Full of knowledge, his achievements and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited.
Yeah, thank you. So here, Krishna mentions here. So men of small intelligence, right? He says Alpamedasham. Alpamedasham means Prabhupada translate as of those of small intelligence. Right? They go to the demigods thinking that whatever the fruits given by them, right, will satisfy them. Ultimately, none of them can satisfy because they are all temporary. Even demigods themselves, they are temporary. In one day of Brahma, right, there are 14 Manvantaras. Manvantara is the different periods of reigns of different demigods. During the Manvantara, only all the Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varna, all the universal, managers post change. In one Manvantara time, right? In one day of Brahma, which consists of 1000 Chaturyugas. One Chaturyuga consists of one Satyuga, Tretayuga, Dwapara and Kali Yuga. Like that, 1000 Chaturyugas constitutes one day time of Brahma. That one day time of Brahma is divided into 14 Manvantara periods. That is approximately 72 Chaturyugas constitutes one Manvantara period. That is the period of reign of the demigods. So currently, Brahma's 50th year, the first day of the 50th year, right, is over. 6 Manu periods are over. We are in the 7th Manu period. Each Manu period lasts for approximately 72 Chaturyugas. Now, current Manu period, 7th Manu, Vaivashvata Manu, in that 28th Chaturyuga is going on. 27 Chaturyugas are over. In the 28th Chaturyuga, Satyuga is over, Tretayuga is over, Dwapara Yuga is over, and then Kali Yuga, 5000 years had passed. That's the current time. So, in the current day of Brahma, already 6 Manvantaras periods are over. Different demigods came into existence and they're gone. The current Manu, right, he is called Vaivashvata Manu because he is son of Vivashwan. Who is Vivashwan? He holds the position of the sun god. His son Manu, right, Vivashwan, he is the current Manu, the father of current mankind. So the current Indra's name is Purandara. And then the current Saptarishis, they are also mentioned. Like that, Srimad Bhagavatam elaborates nicely, right, in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Different Manvanta periods are elaborated. The past Manvantaras, the current day of Brahma, who all had reigned. And the current Manvantara, who are all the demigods and who are all the main in charge. And then similarly, the upcoming remaining 7 Manvantara periods also, who will be the demigods, who will be the Saptarishis, all of them are already scheduled. So the demigods also live, their post also they live only for specified amount of time. That is like 72 Chaturyugas. 72 Chaturyuga means 72 into 4.32 million years. That is the duration of the reign of demigods. After that, all their post changes. So the boons given by the demigods, the post themselves is temporary. Hence, the boons given by them cannot be permanent. We know that, from the past time of Prahlad Maharaja and Hiranyakashipu approaches Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma lives for very, very long time. Right? 311 trillion 40 billion years. That is the lifespan of Brahma. He approaches Brahma, Hiranyakashipu, and asks for him to give, right, immortality. But Brahma says that is not possible. Right? He cannot give immortality to him because he doesn't himself have immortality. He has only 100 years of life for his time span. That is equivalent to 311 trillion 40 billion years for humans. So he said, I cannot give. Then he asked for, okay, if you cannot give eternity, right, immortality, then give me a boon of I should not be killed by neither demigods nor humans, nor by any animals, neither in the daytime nor in the nighttime, right? Not in the sky, not in the earth, not by any weapons. Like that, he put so many conditions, thinking that all these conditions, if it's fulfilled, then he will become immortal. Brahma, gives that benediction, but eventually we know the pastime. Lord Narasimha Deva appears by fulfilling all the conditions without violating the condition given by Brahma. Still, in the end, he annihilates Hiranyakashipu. So the demigods cannot give eternal benediction. That is why it is said men of small intelligence, because they don't realize that the boons given by the demigods are temporary, their posts are temporary, the demigods themselves are temporary. Whereas the Lord, Supreme Lord is, eternal, is unlimited, right? The Supreme Lord is unlimited, his favor is unlimited, his mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotee is unlimited. So, a person who gives up the material desires and surrenders to the Supreme Lord completely, Sarvadharman Parityecha Mamekam Sharanam Vrija, he revives his pure love for the Supreme Lord, selflessly serves him. By that devotional attitude, he goes back to spiritual world, goes back to his home, where he originally came from. Next verse. Would you like to recite?
Yes. It's okay. Avyaktam viktimapannam munyante mama buddhayaha param bhavamajananto mamavyayamuttamam. Avyaktam, non-manifested. Vyaktam, personality. Apannam, achieved. Manayate, think. Mam, me. Abuddhyaha, less intelligent. Abuddhayaha, less intelligent persons. Param, supreme. Bhavam, existence. Ajanantaha, without knowing. Mama, my. Avyayam, imperishable. Anuttamam, the finest. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was the impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna, and still due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord in the disciples' succession of Ramanujacharya, has written a very appropriate verse in this connection. He says, Tvam Silarupa Charitah Parama Prakashaha Prakastai.
Yeah. Satvena Satvikataya Prabhaischa Shashritaihi Prakyata Daiva Paramartha Vidam Mataischa Naivashura Prakritya Prabhavanti Bodhum. You can read the quote.
Naivasura Prakritya Prabhavanti Bodham. My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva, Narada, and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities. And one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However, experts such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and the Upanishad and other Vedic literatures. It's not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. Stotra Ratna 12.
And these are the compositions by Yamunacharya. He had compiled, the essence of Bhagavad-gita as like a summary of Stotra Ratna, around 60-70 verses. This is one of the verses. He's saying how much ever one might be intelligent, expert, they might be studying Vedanta and Upanishads, they cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead until otherwise they approach the Lord under devotional attitude. Continue. Yeah, in the
Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only are the worshippers of the demigods less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on Vedic literature without any tinge of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them, it's not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the absolute truth is impersonal are described as abuddhiyaha, which means those who do not know the ultimate features of the absolute truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized super soul. But the ultimate word in the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead. Modern impersonalities are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor, Sankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the supreme truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince, or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in the Bhagavad-gita, chapter 9:11.
Avajananti Mamuda Manushim Tanim Ashritam.
Avajananti Mama Mudha Manushim Tanum Ashritam. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavatam 10:14-29 confirms this. Atapite deva padambujadvaya prasada
Lesanam grihita evahi
lesan
janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanya ekopi shiram vichinman.
na chanya ekopi chiram vishmak. My Lord, if one is favored by even slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, quality, or name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature, and that all his activities, his form and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. The 20th verse clearly states,
कामैस्तैते कृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्ते अन्यदेवताः.
कामैस्तैस्तेहृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्ते अन्यदेवताः. Those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods who have different planets, and the Lord also has a planet. As stated in the 23rd verse, Devan Deva
Yanti Matbhakta Yanti Mamapi.
Devan Deva Yajoyanti Madbhaktya Yanti Mamapi. The worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. From the study of Gita, does it appear that the demigods and their abodes are impersonal? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are impersonal. They are all persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, non-monistic.
Therefore, the monistic contention.
Therefore, the monistic contention that the ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It's clearly stated here that it's not imposed. From the Bhagavad-gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the forms of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and the Lord Krishna is Satchidananda, eternal blissful knowledge. The Vedic literature confirms that the supreme absolute truth is knowledge and blissful pleasure. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma. Brihadaranyaka 3:9-28. And that he is the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities. Ananta Kalyana Gunatmaka Shau. Vishnu Purana 6:5-84. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, which is unborn, he still appears. There are the facts that we should understand that the Bhagavad-gita, from the Bhagavad-gita, we cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of the Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It's clear herein that the supreme absolute truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality.
And thank you. Sorry, it's a very long purport. I didn't realize. So we will stop here. We'll continue to discuss this particular purport and verse maybe in the next session. I know you have to go, right? So
I have a class. Mine is muted. Were you able to hear me?
Yeah. We are able to hear you.
I don't know. I think I logged twice. Yeah,
no, maybe accidentally you clicked. Yeah, now we are able to hear you.
Okay, thank you.
We are here fully. Yeah, thank you. So we will, because it's already 5:30, 6:30 here, and
I'm late 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll stop here. We'll continue to discuss this particular purport next week, and then continue from the next verse onwards next week.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.